All right, one of the most common questions that I get is, can you use regular polishes for stamping? Do you have to use stamping polish? And the answer is no, you don't necessarily have to use stamping polish, but there are some good reasons to use them. So I'm going to explain sort of why that is. Okay, so these are three of the most common stamping polishes that I use. Okay, the El Corazon Kaleidoscope stamping polishes are cheap. You have to order them from Russia, so they're a bit of a pain. Lantern and Wren sometimes carries them, but they're very cheap for the quality, and they're just consistent polishes, and they come out with different colors all the time. Okay, so for a white and a black, I would definitely recommend getting some stamping polishes. Other than a few exceptions, which I will explain. The Hit the Bottle, which is an Australian company, also makes really great stamping polishes. Okay, and they're very consistent in how they work. They're available in the U.S. at least at a couple different stockists, Lantern and Wren, and Butometry. Okay, so they're fairly easy to get. But I think that they're a little bit on the higher end because they are an indie, smaller company. So while I think the quality is great and worth the price, if you don't want to spend a lot on stamping polishes, Hit the Bottle may be out of your price range, especially if you want to get a bunch of different colors. Okay, and then the other company that I use is Moira, and this is a Ukrainian company. And they offer regular polishes, gels, stamping plates, and stamping polishes, and a bunch of different nail art items. So they know what they're doing, and their products are pretty consistently great. Now, again, they're sort of a pain to get. There are some stockists in the U.S. that carry them, and otherwise, there have been some group buys in various Facebook groups where you can get them for cheaper. That may be coming to an end, so I don't know how accessible that may be, but I do like this company quite a bit as well. Okay. So now we're going to talk about why you may want to use stamping polishes and some regular polishes that may work for you. Okay, so I'm going to be using this plate, this Lena Feeling Shapely 08 plate, and honestly, I just picked a random plate to do the testing. Okay, the other thing I want to show you is when I want to do some testing, I go pick up these paint swatches at any, hardware store or Walmart or wherever, and so that you can do some swatching and testing on them. Okay, so I'm going to start with this white. Okay, and you can use regular paper for that as well. It doesn't really matter. Okay. And what I want to show you is that if you stamp on a light base, okay, white or pale whatever, almost any cream-colored, cream-based color will stamp over white. Okay, it's not that difficult. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what this looks like. This is Revlon Black Magic, and I'm just going to pick up and stamp, right? And it looks great over white. Okay, and most colors will be like that they'll stamp great over white. Okay, now, when you place that same color over a medium shade, like a red, it may not show up as well. Okay, I'm just going to use a different image. Right. Okay. Right. And that's not bad, right? And if I compare that black, which is actually a pretty good black, before there were all these different stamping polish brands available, I started stamping about almost 10 years ago now. And at that time, only Conad was pretty much available. Okay. And so I collected a bunch of different polishes. Okay. And so you can see, I think that this stamping polish, the Kaleidoscope one, will come out a little bit blacker, okay, and deeper than the non-stamping polish, right? But that's a pretty good black that you could use if you can find it, okay? The other brand that has a lot of good stamping, regular polishes that are good for stamping is this Funky Fingers, available at Five Below. And I don't have a Five Below near me, so I've picked up some either through friends or through D-stashes or what have you. Okay, but this one is Berserk Turk, okay? And their white and black are pretty good for stamping. So if you can find them, these are cheap, readily available. If you have that store by you, and work pretty well, okay? So this green, back on the white. Okay, will work pretty well, okay? For another white and black, a lot of people like the Sinful Colors. I don't have the regular one, the white on white that people like, which I think it's called white on white. I'm not really sure about that, to be honest. But this Demi Matte, which was limited edition, called Whiteboard, actually works pretty well as a white stamping polishes. And for some reason, a lot of mattes and sort of semi-matte polishes work well for stamping. Now the problem with that is they dry very quickly, so you have to work very fast, okay? And even that, you see, on a red, okay, it won't come out white, okay? But it comes out as a fairly, not faint white, but it comes out well enough that I think it's workable, okay? So just as a comparison to the El Corazon Kaleidoscope white, okay? I'll pick sort of a similar image here. Okay. And there you can see the difference between that white, okay, and this white, okay? And again, that's on sort of a mid-tone base, so you can see where those differences show up. Okay. So I do want to talk about a few others, okay? Any type of pastel-y color, because they have so much white in them already, if they're one coater cream, they'll generally work pretty well for stamping, okay? So this is Color Club Take Me to Your Chateau. All right. Okay, and you'll see that blue shows up pretty well even on this bright red. Okay, so again, any one coater will work pretty well for stamping, okay? It just depends on how much color payoff you want. If you're stamping on a light or white base, then almost anything will work. If you're using darker colors, now you may want a stamping polish to get you better color payoff, right? So now let's go to the hardest, which is on like a really dark, either pure black or really dark base, okay? So on something like that, okay, this white, okay, will look like this. Okay. So again, it will stamp well enough even on this black shade to show up. Okay, and I'm just gonna clean off my stamper here, okay? But then compare that to the El Corazon one. Okay. And you can see the difference that the stamping polish is definitely whiter and brighter on that, right? Now, the other sort of polishes that are regular polishes that work really well for stamping are any type of these chrome metallics, okay? The shiny chrome metallic. And this is Essie Blue Rhapsody, okay? And there's a whole range of colors in this line. And the gold is great. There's a penny talk that sort of looks copper in the bottle, but stamps sort of almost a rose gold color, okay? My problem is that Essie isn't cheap, so retail-wise. So unless you can get them really cheap on sale someplace, this isn't a really great alternative, I think, to stamping polishes, right? But if you already had this color and you wanted to use it for dual use, you could certainly do that, okay? So, and the nice thing about chromes like this is that they're very opaque, okay? So even on a black like this, it's going to show up really, really well. Like it's basically the same color, okay? And it's a little bit hard because it's shiny, but trust me when I say you can see the blue come out. It doesn't just look silver as it might on the screen, okay? So any of these that you might have, okay, already hanging around, try it for stamping, okay? So the colors that I find difficult, okay, to get in a regular polish to work well are sort of brights, okay? So this is a red, Rachel Red from Barreal, and it looks like a great red polish, very opaque, good in one coat, right? So you would think that it would be good for stamping. So if I try that, okay. And it looked, I don't know if you could see that, but it looks very red on the stamper and it looks very red on the plate, but when you put it on dark color, the red gets hidden. Now, if you're going to be stamping on a light color, this is going to work great, right? So, right? So here, that looks really nice. So it just really depends on the base that you're using and the color payoff that you want. But if you're talking about stamping over dark colors, then you really can't beat stamping polishes. So this is a Hit the Bottle I Pink, Therefore I Am. It's a neon color. And again, neons tend to dry faster, so you want to work very quickly with this. But when it comes to color payoff, okay, right. Again, you really can't beat stamping polishes, right? That comes out neon pink even over a black base, which you can't get with a regular polish, okay? So, and stamping with neon polishes in general, regular polishes, will not work. I will tell you that right now. Most neon formulas are pretty runny and they're meant to be worn over a white base. So when you stamp with regular neon polishes, you will not get a neon color, not even close, okay? So the last sort of category of regular polishes that I want to talk about, because right now we've talked about just all cream color finishes and then these chrome metallics, okay, are hollows and more general shimmers, okay? So a lot of linear hollows, meaning it's the smooth flame. It's not the kind that have the bigger scattered sort of particles, and it's not glitters at all. Glitters will not stamp generally, okay? But most of these, and this one is a Color Club one, but most of these linear hollows will stamp, okay? Especially over dark colors, they look really, really great, okay? All right, and you can see the hollow in them, and it'll come out even more after a top coat, but you still retain the hollow and you can stamp with those. Now, to be honest, because of the shimmer in them, it's hard to get a clean image stamping, okay? So I prefer to use the hollows as a base and then stamp over them, but you can certainly stamp with them if you should like, okay? And now, the other thing I will warn is that if you're gonna get these for stamping, most of the light shades, like this is the silver and there's a light blue, a light green, a light violet, all of the pastel colors will stamp pretty much identically. You will see very little color difference between them, so don't bother getting all of them. Pick your favorite color that you want to use as a base and use that for stamping as well. There are some other darker hollows where you will get some payoff, but that might be a different video, okay? And then, so I wanted to show you, I need to pause here for a second, clean off my stamper, which is, okay. And I want to show you, it does work on mid-color bases as well. Okay. Right. And on that, you can even see the hollow even better there, okay? But obviously, it's not going to work because it's such a light color on something like a white base. You can see the shimmer, but it's going to be very difficult to distinguish what that looks like, okay? And so the last thing I want to talk about are sort of these shimmer polishes, okay? And especially ones that have iridescence and maybe some interference shades. So most of these are very, very thin in formula, okay? And over a white color, it generally won't show up very well at all, right? Okay, so here you can see that it'll sort of vaguely work, okay? But it's pretty light, right? But these tend to generally work really well on darker colors where the shimmer comes through a little bit better, okay? So there, now it looks like a completely different shade almost, because now it's coming up as a dark green as opposed to sort of the lighter green blue that was coming up on white, okay? But that can look really pretty, right? So it just, again, depends on the base that you're using and the effect that you want, but you can use regular polishes for stamping, okay? But you're not gonna get the color payoff that you might want depending on, you know, whatever look it is that you're going for, okay? But it definitely, especially if you're new to stamping, it's worth playing around and practicing stamping, just like I did here, and just go through and just practice the timing, okay? Scrape, pick up, stamp immediately on the paper and just see what that looks like. You can play around with combos. And especially if you are new to stamping, there's no point in you know, wasting money on expensive stamping polish if you can just use a regular polish to practice and get better at the timing and pickup. And then when you are comfortable and you figure out which ones you do want stamping polishes of, then you can go out and buy that. So anyway, I hope that was useful. And if you have other videos that you would like to see, please leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.